Hello. I think I'm on time. I'm 2 minutes late today. That's not too bad. Um, yeah, I was 2 minutes late because I couldn't find. Uh, don't laugh. Irish people call this a rubber. Other people call it an eraser, maybe if you're an American. But I can't find it. Oh, there it is. That's what I was looking for. We might need that today because there'll be a little bit of drawing and a little bit of painting, and I even have my constable. And there'll be a bit of music, hopefully. Um, I'm playing the music sort of a bit backgroundy, so I don't really know how high it's going to be. And that reminds me to do the paranoid thing and just check that I have sound. Okay. So I'm going to go over the panel, check the live panel, make sure I'm live. I'm live. And do I have sound? Yay, we've got sound. Okay. That's all I wanted to know. And with the right way up. That can happen too. Yeah, with the right way up. And the picture looks okay too. Everything's going swimmingly well so far. So yeah, this is the plan. I was on my community tab the other day, yesterday I think it was, and people are starting to um to know, and I'm starting to know that if I'm doing a live stream, I'm probably going to be doing it on a Saturday. I'm trying to stay to the same kind of time. And I'm on Irish time or English time. Greenwich Mean Time is what I listed as. So it's kind of 2 p.m. is what I'm aiming for on Saturdays for live streams. And if I'm not going to be on a live stream and I have to cancel for some reason, I'll let you know on that community tab, which is terribly handy. And I don't think you can actually access it on a phone if you're on a phone. I think it's missing on a phone, but if you're on a laptop, it's great because it's such a good resource for putting up finished pieces that maybe I'm on a live stream. I only do these for about an hour. And then I might be working on a piece I'm working on a bit longer, you see. And rather than you wondering how the thing turned out, I then post it usually later that day on the community tab, which has the facility for being able to put pictures up and say a little something or other above the picture. So, you can give viewers messages about, like, okay, this week's live stream is going to be this, that, or the other. And yesterday I was saying I didn't know if I wanted to do trees or clouds because I have the goo on me to do trees. But clouds usually turn up as well when you're doing trees, right? Because trees, you don't do trees in a void usually, unless you're doing something a bit graphic designy with them, right? So I said, okay, well, it'll involve clouds. I said, but they're two quite involved subjects, uh, which, I'd like to kind of concentrate more on each thing. So I had to decide, and I was saying, okay, I'll decide for tomorrow. And I was saying all this in the community tab. So it's clouds, folks. And this is why we have Constable out, because I'm just going to do a warm up first, right? I'll start painting in a minute, but there's a warm up first. Because the warm up is looking at a few Constable cloud studies because of the way he does clouds in different moods and lightings and everything. For example, look at this one. It's a moody beach. It's got a, little sunny spot here, but if you look just below it, it's going to lash rain, you know. So that's a real sulky about to lash rain and probably lashing rain over here kind of sky. And anywhere in England or Ireland, we're sorted out for rain. We have all kinds of rain. You know the way they talk about different types of snow, or at least 200 different types of rain. And I've always liked Constable for his clouds. And I even found in my Constable book this tucked in. And it turns out this is from the year 2000 or the year 1999, possibly, because it's got an advert in it. But it's got this painting. And this is a beautiful painting. of clouds that are of two types. It's a study of cirrus clouds, but they've kind of got a little bit of what you call cumulus congestus as well. And I really want to do some cumulus congestus clouds today because I love them. They are the sort of clouds that I've heard described as being like a cauliflower shape. And I think that's a wonderful description of them and very helpful to help you paint them. They have that kind of fluffiness, but not in the same way as those fluffy sunny day clouds. Cumulus congestus, even the word congestus, they're full, they're congested with water, aren't they? And they're a harbinger of rain, showers, you know? So they're kind of shower type clouds. So be nice to do some of those. So we're going to do, a few different things to show you different kind of moods of sky. I've included this constable example to show you how your underpainting can affect your sky, right? So this is another technical trick to consider when you're going to paint a sky, right? And the whole thing has been done with an underpainting color, and it's a kind of a mid-tone and mid-earthy tone. That's one of these, right? It's probably that kind of color there, which is a kind of an ochre color, or what I'd call a pale bistre color. Bistre is a watercolor mix that people make up, but it's I think this is oils. It's a sketch, so it looks like it's an oil sketch to me. And the underneath color is coming through, and he's put on some blue over it, but he sort of dragged it across as probably a drier paint. That's the other thing that's very important painting all kinds of subjects, and it's really going to help you with your clouds. This stuff, how much water you put into your pigment. And this counts for anything, whether you're using watercolor or acrylics and or gouache. The fluidity of the paint affects how thoroughly it covers. So if you have dry paint, not water on it, just out of the tube or mixed without any water in it, and you drag it across, it's going to stick to some parts of your surface and not to other parts, and the underneathy bit will show through. Or sometimes underneathy bits will show through if you don't put very much pigment in the water. That's the way it works with watercolor. Different media behave differently. All right. I won't be doing this very long. We'll start painting soon, but we want to warm up. We want to sort of think about our approach a little bit before we start. Here's another beautiful cloud study by him. And this is your kind of semi-stormy looking clouds, because you see the way I couldn't decide between clouds and trees. He has the context in for the clouds. It's not just a study of just clouds. It's actually a detail of part of a bigger picture, I think. Perhaps not, though. But a lot of the things in this book are studies rather than finished pieces. But he has put in the trees for context because clouds interact with landscape, and they can look very, clouds are drifty things anyway, aren't they? But they can look very stranded and no center of focus or anything if you just do the clouds. So I will be doing some trees as well today, just to give them a little bit of situate clouds. And this is a wonderful kind of stormy cloud because the tree here you can see looks like the wind is affecting it a little bit. And he did this really clever thing as well. That was a real constable trick. And I don't want to knock the tripod this thing is on, but you can see down the bottom here little flecks of white. He did those little flecks to kind of enliven the painting, and it's a really, really clever trick. And you could do that in your sky, but he does really clever things in the sky, like dragging the paint. He understands about not just about color, but about the texture of the paint and what it does when you water it down to different levels and when you drag it and everything. And there's all this dragging and scumbling and things going on that gives you a fantastic sense of movement in the clouds. That's the thing with clouds, isn't it? They're always moving. Well, not always. Sometimes you get a cloud hanging around for hours. And finally, we're going to look at kind of stormy clouds. And I might do a stormy sky just for our four seasons. We're going to play the music of the seasons while I'm working today, Vivaldi, and very nice Vivaldi thing. And we're moving through the four seasons in a way because we look like we're batting down a bit in it doesn't look like a summer storm here to me. It looks like a kind of more wintry storm going on here, but it's very heavy, isn't it? And ink would be really nice to do this in, and this is done in they're calling it a sepia, but sepia refers really to the tone. It might be a bistre mix again, which I've done things before about mixing a bistre mix, but it's a brownie color basically, which sepia is as well, but that's some sort of a fluid medium. So that's interesting to see how you get a cloud with kind of rain coming out of it. How do you get that effect? And then this wonderful light here on the side of the hill where the sun is still involved somewhere. It's setting probably in the background there. It looks like a kind of a sunset to me. That's what I get out of it. But there is a shape up here that's like the sun, but I don't know that that's, not an accidental happening. A lot of these are very rough and he allows accidental things to happen in them, as well as having very, deliberate elements and everything. And that's part of the joy of these Constable pieces. They're just so beautiful. I included this one just to remind us of a kind of a uh, sunny sky where the sun is still affecting the clouds, but it's a kind of a cumulus congestus, isn't it? Because the shadows here suggest that those clouds are holding some rain, right? So if you look at the colors in this, you've got blue in the background, a very soft blue, but it's suggestive of a warm summer day or autumn maybe, and light coming from this side, looks like, yeah, because we're looking at the house as well. So you want to know what kind of direction your clouds are being hit by the light, and then where the dark holding the rain bits are, And these don't always make sense because when you look at this cloud, this is a dark shape, isn't it? Sitting in front of that light shape. And you say, but the sun is coming from this direction. So I would have thought the edge of that would be all white. Well, not necessarily. So this is why you have to go out and study clouds. And a lot of people work from photographs these days. It's a very popular way to work, and probably popularized more by the fact we have so many digital ways of recording things. But I would also recommend going out in person in the weather to sketch clouds, at least sketch them, and you're getting the atmosphere a lot better than just doing something from a photograph. So like we could come along and copy from Constable, but you don't always want to be copying stuff from copying from photo or copying from Constable. You can be copying from nature, but you're not really copying. There's more creation, I think, goes on just because you're living the experience of being in that landscape. That's a very personal opinion, but it's how I feel. So we'll look at the basics of clouds, yeah. So I might, whoops, sorry, I just hit the tripod. You're going to shake it around there. So we'll do a little bit of drawing first, I think, and I'm gonna have bigger paper for this. I'm working on my favorite aqua pad here, watercolor paper, and I'm gonna just tear a sheet out to start. I'm gonna start off sketching structure of something cloudy, right? And I don't really have a reference point in my mind at all. which isn't ideal. It isn't ideal. It'd be great if I went out, did some sketches for things, but you know, I have done a lot of sketches of these things, so I think I can come up with something reasonably convincing about the technique of how you'd go about it. Okay, so I'm not going to just have just clouds, right? So something is going to happen down here in terms of some trees, and I have pencil I have is they're calling it a light wash pencil, and it's just a HB, which is not particularly soft pencil and not particularly hard. Okay, so it's a kind of pencil you might write or something. It actually has white paint on the top, which it shouldn't have. Let me just get it slightly sharper. So I'm just indicating trees down the bottom. I could have done this with a mechanical pencil. I'm trying to keep things moving because I don't want to do just one piece today. I want to do a few. This first thing is going to be just a sketch. I could have gotten my flatter paper for this, but I might be painting over it. I think I might paint over this. So let's say we're just indicating a tree, okay? Dark shaped tree down there. We can have a few trees if we want. So this is the foreground, or the theatre, if you like, for our cloud to do its thing. And it's going to be a cumulus congestus type job again, okay? So it's echoing the shape of the tree a bit, if you'll notice my little way of doing it, indicating a tree very roughly there against an edge of a landscape is just a, curly kind of shape. So we're doing a few things going on there, right? And let me just put on some music. I want to make sure it's not too loud, but I'm not getting any. And this is the Wichita State University Chamber Players, if you're wondering. And there's a soloist on it. I think he's a violinist, John John Harrison. I haven't heard of. But this is a very nice Creative Commons freebie, so we should be okay to play this. Okay, so we have, some vague outlines of things happening. And remember we said cumulus congestus are the ones that are filled with water. So they've got grey bits in them, haven't they? So if you're out sketching this or you're sketching from a photo, this is basically what you want to know. You want to know where the outlines are and where the shaded bits are before you add any colour, okay? But we are going to go into colour. And we're only indicating it fairly roughly, all right? And when I'm constructing clouds, I usually work completely in colour. I often go out and I don't sketch at all. So that's the other way to go. If you're confident about it, you can just work in there with colour. So what time of the year do I want it to be? Well, we're playing Vivaldi Spring. So we think spring, okay? Because we're coming into a new year now. We're sitting here on New Year's Eve. So let's think spring and put in our blue background. And I'm going to be semi transparency with this. And I'll try and show you how much I'm actually mixing in. I don't have the palette very near to the center of action here. There, now you can see. So I'll try and show you what quantities. This is all very rough, but what quantities I'm mixing in with my blue for this. And see, the background could have been not just blue and white, but other colors as well. Because this blue here, if you look at this, very summer dayish, isn't it? That's very summery. And some days in spring are like that. Not every day, though. Now, I'm not worried about the age too much because I have a thin colour look. And I'm also working in acrylics, which dries very fast, so I don't really care. So I could go along and have the same colour all over, yeah? But it doesn't always work like that. Sometimes with the sky, and this is why I'm saying it's very specific to what sky you're working on. Because somebody like Constable, even if he had a camera these days, I would argue that somebody like Constable might still go out. I'm sorry, the tripod, I'm coming up to the leg of the tripod here, which is one of these stand sort of things. And I'm actually shaking it all over the place. I'm terribly sorry. It adds to the action, doesn't it? You know, they say about videos, you know, that you should be doing all these little cuts every few seconds because people have no attention span. So, you know, we'll call that an action sequence there, will we? When the tripod goes all shaky. So down here in the sky, we're going to do a slightly different color happening, and we're going to go mix in again. See the way I'm just reaching for the water and dipping it to have a fairly fluid but not completely watercolory texture. So this moves well, you see, across the page. Look at that. Look at how much I could cover with just one stroke. But you don't get much coverage in terms of if I had color underneath that. The pale blue would not be showing up as a pale blue. If I had a brown underneath that, some of that brown would be picked up by the pale blue. So this is why how much water you put in matters. And I do it on the fly, like I'm always reaching across for the water. This is why I usually have the water on that side. But I think that's something that you start learning the longer you paint. But sometimes it can speed up the process of learning if somebody just tells you at the beginning, look at what happens when you add more water. More fluidity means cover more distance easier. And look, at this time I'm just reaching for just plain all water. This paper will take it without buckling too much. And look what else happens. You have introduced in this nice element of brush strokes. I'm just going to add a little bit more blue to this and go back up to this area. You've added some brush strokes in by not having a very thick paint. If I had a very thick paint that didn't have loads of water in it or a bit of water in it, it has some water in it up here and even more down here and more white added as well. You wouldn't get that lovely texture. So there's a sense of movement and nice things happening in the sky already. I'm going to leave this brush, which is a filbert. They're really nice to paint skies with. And I'm going to move to another brush because I don't want to clean that brush. And I want to come down here and fill in something for the trees. Okay, just get the trees indicated fast. And I have another, this is a synthetic brush. Great for acrylics, just a cheaper one, but a round. And I'm going to mix up I was going to say a green, but my green has gone dry. Colors, I have to find a way to get there. This is I was using a cobalt blue and I think it was a titanium white on the sky. I'm going to be possibly using a different white later. It was an acrylic I was using. I might use some gouache later, and I'll tell you why. Well, I probably shouldn't have said it because I mightn't use it at all. Plans can change. We'll see. There'll be a few different materials used, and I have to keep an eye on the time because 24 minutes already. You see, you can't explain these things fast necessarily, but I think it was worth taking time out to look at the Constable book in the beginning because it reminded us, because we weren't outside in the weather, it reminded us of different kinds of clouds, different moods and different weathers. So now I'm going to indicate trees, and I have a viridian mixed up fairly thinly with a Van Dyke brown in acrylic. And again, I'm keeping my brushwork lovely and fluid and enjoying the fact that there are brushstrokes. And you'll find if you paint quickly that you'll get more energy in your brushstrokes. I'm not suggesting you have to paint everything quickly. I'm going a bit different on this tree because it's a different type of tree. And I might do things with the brown. I don't want to get too fiddly, but I want to get an ochre involved for yellow ochre involved for the trunk of this tree, just to make the thing look a little bit real. I want to indicate a few branches, you see. Now, already I've kind of decided where the light is coming from. And it's a good idea in a picture to decide that fairly early. Now, how can you guess how I've decided the light is, where the light is coming from? Dear, here's more clues by the way I'm filling in the trees. It's coming from over here, okay? And so there are some cast shadows. This has nothing to do with clouds, says you. Oh, yes, it has. It has, you see, because we're setting ourselves up for the context for that cloud, okay? And, you know, it's rough. We're not going to break our necks doing a finished picture because we want to mostly think about the clouds. Okay, so I'm so well equipped today. I even sacrificed an old tea towel that I think I sacrificed previously because there's ink on it. It's my demotion system, you see. Nothing lasts for long, really, around here. Now, oh yeah, I was cleaning the brush and I had one clean already. I just want to get down here with my white. And it looks like it's on the edge of a hill a bit here. So, oh, that was a live performance. So that was spring. We're on summer now, folks. I hope we're not going to peak too soon here. Equally, this could be a summer cloud. You get a lot of cloud. You get a lot of showers in summer in Ireland as well. There we go. Now I'm still fiddling around here because I am indicating the light up on the top of the trees, but I'll be finished fiddling any moment. I'm getting a little bit of yellow into that green, and then I'm going to come up tonally and do a little bit of tipping in of light color. It's a bit crude. You know, I could work on this a lot longer. I might work on it longer later. I want to get to the clouds because I want to do a lot in the half an hour I have left. So back to these guys, the clouds themselves. So clouds, white and grey mainly. Okay, we're not doing fancy clouds here with. Oh, what's this big? Oh, I don't know what that is. Oh, it's my motor. Sorry. We're not doing like big fancy clouds with browns in them and all this. You can get all that in clouds. You can get all sorts of browns, pinks, yellows, and everything in clouds. We're going to keep it simple, right? We just want to do a kind of a convincing cloud here, okay? So the two things we need are white, and I only have a little tiny bit of water in the white now. I am going in this circular shape. Remember the word cauliflower. That will be helpful for a cumulus congestus cloud. If you don't remember, the cumulus congestus name, and you remember cauliflower, and you know what a cauliflower looks like, you'll know it has all these little heads made up of florets, yeah? And what we're doing is we're loosely going over the white bits in a kind of little circular cauliflower flourish kind of way. And this is half the fun of painting, using your brush in different ways, as well as thickness of paint. I've got a lot of splashing going along over here, but then, all this enlivens the painting because I can lift out little areas and everything. Okay, so we're going to come along and put in our darker bits, and I'm going to have one of these ones where the underneath of this is laden down as well. So I can go in with some grey. So black, of course, make grey really easily with black. But we'll have to figure out, do we like that grey? And actually, it's a nice warm grey. It's not bad. But you see, we could have come along and put a tiny bit of blue in it. And I think it's even better with the blue in it when you look at it. So same thing, except when I get to sort of the bottom of where the shadow is happening, I am reinstating the edges of the cloud, which is kind of the upper edges of the white bit of the cloud. Then I'm filling in, look. Now it doesn't look very convincing yet, but it'll get better, you'll see. You see the technique going on for it, you see. It can get fancier than that. But this is a pretty solid technique for getting those clouds right. Now, other stuff you can do, all right? It's very basic, isn't it? Because it's a two-tone thing going on. And it looks okay. Doesn't look too bad. We're putting another cloud over here. I forgot about that cloud. And I actually have the grey bit in first, just because I had that in my brush. And I'm putting the whitey bit on. But now I'm making the flourish-y shapes on this. And because I had a bit of grey on it already, the colour is getting slightly mixed. So what I want to do is make sure the brush is clean again and get more white, pure white involved. And really your cloud is going to be made up of a series of going back and forth between that grey and that white to get them to interact in a convincing way. And sometimes what I do is get a dry brush and work that has no paint on it at all, a soft one. This is a pretend sable. I don't think it is a sable. It's actually another cheapo one that's a synthetic sable. And I come in and do a little blendy here, look. So you can get a more subtle blending, and I'm blending out into the white and also back in at some points. And there are little things you can do, like rolling the brush and things, that create different types of blends. So you could have fun experimenting with that. And then once I have the basic shape of each section, I can work back into it. And the other really cool thing about this is that if you can paint cumulus congestus clouds, you can also paint your foliage on trees pretty well, because it's done the same way. I could work back into these trees in the same way that I'm working with this cloud here. I'm actually going to load this with a little bit of paint in a minute. I'm just breaking up the edge, that kind of harsh edge between the grey and the white a bit. Okay. Just to add more interest to it and believability, to be honest with you. And I can load this brush up with a bit of white and go back into edges and make some edges a bit kind of more cauliflowerish if I want. And gradually, as you go along, you feel your way along and you do get a sense of the thing. Now, you know, if you're out in a landscape, you get a little bit of help, but usually the cloud, this kind of a cloud, has usually moved on pretty fast. So you're kind of only getting an impression in the field anyway. And you might be working a bit from these days, you might be coming home with a photo of it as well and be able to get a kind of a portrait of that particular cloud looking really great. But there is a certain element of making stuff up with clouds as well, I have to admit. So, you know, you work away with the cloud like that. So that's the way of doing one particular style of cloud. And um, you can work on a little bit on that. I would do some more with that, but what I'll do is move on to another type of cloud now, and I can post up to 5 pictures on that community tab. Okay, so I'll do a few more clouds, and I'll post the finished versions of them up on the community tab later today. But I will keep working away now and do something different. So that was a beautiful spring day sort of cloud, and it's all very terribly empty here. I'll come along later and I'll put in a bit of a hill or something in there to make it visually a bit more interesting. Um, but I will do a little bit more work on that cumulus cloud there after we finish the live stream. But you get the idea how to keep it simple, and don't worry about it if there are marks in it or anything from your drawing. That's fine. That actually looks kind of cool, leaving some of the marks in. Some of the evidence of work having happened can be, add depth and interest to a picture. So that's that one. Okay, so I don't know what kind we want yet. We're coming up to we're coming up to autumn, so the weather might be getting rougher now. So we might do a different kind of cloud. So let's do something a little bit, well, we could do evening spread out clouds. That's very autumnal. I'd like to do at least 3 seasons. I don't know if I'll get 4 seasons in, but evening clouds. Shall we do that? Do I want to work with the same? I don't know if I want to work at the same size. Oh, this paper isn't in good nick. Okay. Yeah, maybe just size. You can be too mean with paper as well. I do love this paper. Okay. So nice autumn. We're thinking autumn. In autumn, the light can be really beautiful. Sometimes you get weather that's worse and everything, but often it's worth it for a nice raking sort of light because the sun is lower in the sky in the autumn. And I think sunsets in the autumn are very nice. So you might do something a little bit kind of sunsetty. You know that picture we were looking at, the constable one. That was an evening scene. To me, I thought it looked like an evening scene. He likes doing church buildings, and he had rain coming and a hill with sun setting behind. I like that hill sunsetty kind of feel. So we'll work around that kind of feeling for autumn, and we'll have it a gentle autumn day, sun setting, a bit sunny, but with some sort of a cloud coming down. It could be just an evening kind of a rain shower, let's say. And we'll make this the mountain. And we want to get rid of some of the white. And you see the way when I've got fairly thin paint, it's actually suggesting some of the landscape for me a bit. it does help a little bit. Let's put in a few trees for that. Just for the hell of it, there's a road, a few trees. I don't really like making stuff up too much, but I do want to have something to work with for this. So this is kind of interesting because this is, I think I'll do something about this brown idea, having a brown coming through. And that's perfect for something autumnal because I'm thinking that kind of sunsetty autumnal. I've noticed a lot of pink skies. I could even go bigger on my brush here, but I'm just being lazy. Now, really, with these washes, you do it across the whole thing, and just I sort of changed my mind about what I was doing in the middle of that. So, apologies for that. But what I'll do to help this dry faster is do a just wiping across type technique. And I'm taking some of the colour out by doing that, but also there's less to dry because I want it a little bit dry before I start laying down more colour on it, okay? Now it's a very, although we're doing figurative work today, it's you know, very free kind of work. There's nothing fiddly about it. Sometimes I get into doing really fiddly work, but recently I've been doing very loose work and you know, it's enjoyable. And kind of a lot of making stuff up. But really it's only because I've done so much work you know, at other times with not making stuff up, just working observationally from what's in front of me. I think that's the only reason I can make anything up at the moment because I used not to be good at making things up at all and was surprised recently when I was able to get something looking remotely realistic that wasn't sitting in front of me. So I don't know, some people have the hang of doing that naturally, don't find it a problem. I do. I find that the most difficult thing. Sorry, I'm doing a lot of work on the actual landscape bit of this, but I'm kind of enjoying it. And I'm enjoying the dynamism of it. It's very dynamic, isn't it? And it's very kind of wild landscapey. I love it. Really enjoying it. It's a bit like you've just climbed a hill and you go, wow, I don't think anybody else comes on this hill. I think I'm the only person who's discovered this hill for a while. And you get a kick out of the feeling of that. There mightn't have been anybody else there for a while. Okay, so we have a nice backdrop for it, yeah? And it has the autumnal feel I kind of like. So now, the last one, we went with this kind of very blue sky, didn't we? So the mood is very different already. So how are we going to get clouds and things going here and color? What's going to happen if we put the same colors, the same blue and white colors over this background? Well, let's try. And we might incorporate some of that gouache in because in a while, because it does something different, and I might like to show you something different that it does. I think it does something different. Here we go, folks. Look, we're doing the draggy thing. We're doing a constable on it. Do you remember that one where he was dragging across? Now I had a good bit of water in that. Let's say I had less, and instead of using my, sorry, I'm trying to get at it. Instead of using my acrylic, I'm using this gouache, which looks the same, but is a slightly different thing. And a little bit of water is going to go into that. And my blue, I want to have it about the same tonally. And I think it's going to behave differently. It might actually end up behaving slightly the same. It was actually better coverage. It's giving me a different color. It's not doing what I thought it would do at all. I thought it would go thinner. You can go thinner with wash. Watch when I do just white. You can use it like a watercolor. which is interesting because look, I can come along and modify a color I already have there. That's lightening it a bit, isn't it? So if you want slightly more subtle clouds, gouache could be interesting to use, and you can use it quite happily with acrylics. You know, on the layer over acrylics, if you've already painted a cloud and you want a more subtle kind of a cloudiness to happen, you could come along. You see the way if I was drawing a cloud down here, that's kind of a much subtler thing. It's not quite a watercolor effect, but suppose this was a morning scene and the clouds are actually hanging around the mountain, which you often see. We'll pretend we're on the top of a big mountain. You know, you can actually drag that down into it quite happily, and it's still got that wispy cloud feel. So this is a different kind of cloud, isn't it? With the gouache, you can get something of that effect with acrylic as well, but I think it's just that bit more subtle in gouache. So we're doing weird things here. And with these kind of, I was going to do a stormy cloud. It ended up a wispy cloud. But I can have stormy clouds up here. Let's do clouds that have a lot of brown. And I'm keeping an eye on the time. Because the time can be a challenge for me. I'm at 46 minutes and I don't like to stay on more than an hour. And I still have one picture I want to start. That's going to be an ink job. And it's a big dramatic picture for my last thing. I'm not changing brushes very much and using lots of different brushes. Just for expediency's sake, really. I don't want to have to change a lot of stuff around and be, finding the right brush and taking time over things. But you might find that to make particular marks, you might find particular brushes do a good job. And I would at this point like to try to find a particular brush to show you that's one that I love and try and make a mark with it if I can find it. Just to make you go, ooh. Now, I normally use this one with oil paints, but this one is, I think it's called an Egmont. It's kind of a filbert, but it's a very long, ovally shaped filbert. And because the length of it, when you make a mark, you just kind of, this is great for clouds and trees. I just love it. When you make a mark, it does a very sort of elegant, it just does it differently in a way that makes you go, ooh. Now, these clouds, I'm putting a bit of brown and a bit of red in them. So let's have a look. Ooh. So I'm doing this underneath. So they're laden clouds. They're laden with sunshine, but there's some sort of suggestion in them as well of some sort of rain. And it's a bit touchy-feely, It's you decide about your clouds yourself. Because you can make up certain elements of it. You can kind of make up a little bit. So this painting, I would keep working on this particular one. I would work on the hills as well as the clouds because they're interacting a lot more than they were in the spring one. So I'm going to work more on that one, and I will show you that one later on. So we'll do a third, last one. Oh, hello. Somebody turned up. Nice to see you. Happy New Year to you too. And I appreciate you dropping in. What we were doing today was looking at a few different types of clouds. We had Mr. Constable doing a warm-up first. We were looking at a few Constable things. And I'm going to I have two of them done. I'm going to take 3 cloud ideas and finish them off, and then I'm going to post them up on my community tab later today when I have the 3 finished. I just wanted to get them all 3 started on the live stream. to demonstrate how different times of year and different conditions result in different types of clouds. There's no one way to do a cloud, is there really? Let's face it. But like how do you approach the different ways to do them? Well, I'm looking at simple ways to approach them. And you could kind of see the brushwork and everything was different in those different ways of approaching them. And there was also different kind of colour going on that was influenced by lighting conditions. Now, the third one we're doing, it's going to be very dramatic. This is the super dramatic winter one. And Vivaldi is now on winter. So that's perfect. We just have time to get our very sort of angry winter weather in. And this is one I'm going to bring out my favorite my favorite ink for, and you probably know by now what my favorite ink is. It's India ink, and I cannot stay away from India ink. I'm totally addicted to this stuff. I love it. And at the beginning of the live stream, we were looking at one of the constables we were looking at was that angry sky one, and he's amazing at doing rain coming out of clouds and everything. And I had done this little study a while back, and I thought it at the time, and I'm sure you can see the possibilities of Indie ink for doing really wild, absolutely lashing down weather. Oh, thank you. Very nice compliment about my work there. Appreciate it. So, this is what we're going to try and do. And I think I'd like to make this a kind of a seascape. We're going to work in really minimal colors here. I don't necessarily have to stick to just black and white for this if I don't want to. I can introduce blue, but I am going to use that seepage kind of factor of India ink, hopefully to create some effects. Now, India ink doesn't always do what you want it to do when you want it to do it, but that's what's so exciting about it. And this is why I'm so terribly addicted to it. I'm going to get a big brush, and this is a goat hair brush, I think it is. It's a soft watercolor brush. And I'm just going to take some water and flood my paper, which is a heavy watercolor paper, very slightly textured. And it's a lovely paper because I can use a variety of media on this. It'll handle acrylic nicely as well. Or just it has a very slight a suggestion of a canvas feel of it without it actually being canvas, you know. It's still, and you can still draw on it and everything without it being too much kind of tooth or texture on it. Now, okay, so this is going to be pretty simple where we're going to start. It is a beautiful brush, isn't it? You're dead right. I love this brush. I think this brush was about 15 euros, maybe. I do know a lady online that sells these brushes. Her name is Fiona. Fiona OQ, and I think she has a YouTube channel as well as a Twitch channel, and her website is Ink Different. And the other guy that does it is a guy called Henry Lee. But I think I got this in an art shop some years ago, an art shop in Dublin. But it's one of my favorite big watercolor brushes. I wouldn't use this with oil paints because I'd probably wreck it, I reckon. So I'm going to get some India ink, which is lovely stuff. It's made from kind of spider's ankles or something. And it's very black. Watch this. We've got a loose hair already. Watch this. This is the blackest black. Oh my God, look at that. Look at how amazing that is. This is what India ink does. It's so beautiful. And yeah, I'll just do little small lines because I'm trying to suggest water. I don't know how this will do for water. I might need to come along when it's drier to do slightly stricter edge on that, but we're suggesting things. Isn't that lovely what it does? And you can see it's capturing the kind of sparkliness of water already. It's done this really, it always does something really weird. It's done a really weird thing in the middle that's a kind of created sparkly bits where it's completely missed some bits as if they didn't get the flooded bit of water I put on. So already it's doing unexpected things. And I don't know if this looks like a sea, but it will if I come along afterwards, wait till it dries and come along afterwards and tip in highlights in white, or I could come along with blues and whites, you know. But what I want to concentrate on at the moment while it's still wet is up here. And I want a couple of things to happen. I want some grey to happen. Okay. Look at that. Oh, it's all very scary stuff. But like you have to go with the flow. Look at it. How beautiful is that? Doesn't look like a cloud so far. Don't worry about it. This is kind of like a cloud. It's taken up a hair, which I want to get rid of. Get another brush. You see, you're gonna leave marks possibly from getting rid of the hair, so you want to be careful about that. So I want to do that, but I want to do a pure black on the top and really flood that in. Look. Ooh. Isn't that amazing? Look at that. And look at the weird little it's just the most amazing medium. I don't know what to say about it. Now I'm gonna do another weird thing here, and I don't know if this will work or not. This could ruin everything. But already it's got that angry sky feeling, yeah. A bit. It's not there. I'd like it sulkier there as well. But I'm going to do a thing here. Look, this is a real constable thing to do. We're going to try and suggest something rainy. Now, that's not subtle. Let's admit to ourselves that is not subtle. So we're going to do, with this kind of ink, you don't like to mess too much. Some of the beauty of it is going to be spoiled if you do too much messing. But you don't want to do a bit of messing. So I'm going to do more cloudy things. To finish our day. Now, the India ink takes a while to settle. So you put something down and it'll keep doing some things. Whoops. See, I'm into high risk kind of things now. Trying to get little weird things happen. I don't know that I like those just because they're got a bit too much spread on them there. Now we'll see what way things like that spread. And with this one, there's going to be a lot of sitting around waiting for it to dry, going in again, doing a few more little bits and bobs to it. And as you can see, I'm trying to get movement in a couple of directions with it, as if there's a wind going on in that landscape as well. And I don't know if it's going to be successful, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And I'm not going to be messing with it too much. But I'm leaving that nice bright bit there and some bright bits here. And then I'm going to, when it's dry, come back in and do a little bit more. I might do the sharpness not quite at the edge because that actually looks like rain hitting the water in a way. And if I could get more of that kind of rain hitting the water effect, you see what I mean? And this is like rain over the sea. This is how rain over the sea kind of, I've seen rainstorms like this sometimes. But that little trick of spreading the brush out like that can be interesting. And you can do that with old brushes and things. Do things like cut bits out of them and just. Okay, so I've definitely got that angrier sort of feel out of it, but I'll wait till it dries before I do any more messing with that one. So there you are. That's our hour and our 3 different pieces. So I'll do a bit more on them. That was the first piece, Spring, a spring piece, which has a piece of black ink on it I have to get rid of now. And so does this. That black ink, you see, splashing it around probably isn't a good idea. Here's our autumnal looking one. That's much warmer sort of colours in it and much more dragged cirrus style clouds in it. And then our angry storm over the sea type clouds. So I'll work away on those. Give me a couple of hours to stick them up on the community tab. And if you're curious about how they turned out after a little bit more work, well, then drop in over there and have a look at them. And if you liked the music, if you managed to hear the music for today's thing, because the music was actually playing on a device over the other side of the room, and you know, you like the music and you want to be um, doing some clouds to the same music, the link for the music is under the video. So you can have all the 4 seasons while you're painting the 4 seasons, or I only got 3. I actually had summer missing. So I hope you get some ideas there about clouds or some kind of little tricks, you know, that you know you could add to the way you like doing clouds, or just, you know, enjoyed listening to a bit of music and watching somebody working away. And I don't know what the next live stream will be about, but I'll probably be back next Saturday, 2 p.m. GMT, Irish time. And to the person who dropped in, thank you very much for dropping in, and I hope you enjoyed yourself. Okay, and there's also a short video on my shorts tab about clouds as well, with another technique in it. That's, I think it's only about 15 seconds long. If you want to have a look for that, I think it's called Clouds Both Sides Now or something like that. Okay, bye bye. Thanks for dropping in.